Hi, everyone. My focus with every workshop is that you leave having something that has changed your life, so that it's not just information, but that something has permanently transformed you. And I see so many familiar faces. I'm pausing to I see so many familiar faces, and I'm very touched that you are here. I see Fiona and so many. Anyway, so with this particular workshop on Defy Gravity, for me, before I go into the overview that I find more and more necessary, I want to say that this particular material has, in a sense, is my holy grail. I mean, in all of the years that I have looked for healing, in terms of this sort of mystery as to why people heal, why they don't heal, can they heal, and my own distance personally in my journey of staying away from healing, going close, staying away, not wanting to go anywhere near people who were healing or sick, would be another way to put it. Part of that reason was because I had nothing to offer that actually seemed to work. And the kind of frustration of that kept me at bay. And I'll go into that a little bit later today as to how that whole journey of my own life unfolded. But the work that I did in Defy Gravity, for me, was an aha, as has happened actually in all of my work. Now that I've written so many books and have gone through this so many times, a book for me always starts out, always, as an intellectual exercise of wanting to take information that I have accumulated through observation and frustration, and a lot of the issues that I have accumulated in what I would call the holistic field, that I feel need to be challenged, which for me are one of the reasons why the holistic field is not very holistic at all. And one of the reasons why I feel people are not healing or making progress, nor in fact are quite the opposite. But as I started to write that, I found that for all of the information that I had accumulated over so many years of observing, every time I sat down to write, my thoughts were jammed. They just jammed, as if I would go into a blank space, or as if the sentences that I was trying to write would get, the language would go away, or the sentences would start sounding like some amateur from high school wrote them. I would lose access to my sophisticated vocabulary. And then when I would leave my computer and go downstairs in my house to make a cup of coffee or something like that, all of a sudden I'd be thinking clearly again. Now, I had that experience once before, and it terrified me. It terrified me, and in fact, Findhorn's involved in that experience. Findhorn actually is involved in it. Now that I think of it, and I didn't think of it till the second, but I was writing a book called Creation of Health, which is the time when I brought through the human energy system as I then understood it, which was the 7 chakras and the relationship between losing energy and where the disease state was, and how I first initially did medical intuitive readings. When I sat down to write that book, I was still in publishing. My publishing company was failing. I had 2 partners. we were about to go bankrupt, okay? And that was the result of my previous two partners, my first two partners were getting a divorce. We were about to go bankrupt. We were in big, huge trouble. I can't believe the story's coming out. How wild is this? But it has to do with Findhorn. Wow. Anyway, it was decided by the three of us that I should write Creation of Health. And I had been doing medical intuitive readings at that point for 4 years with Norm Sheely, my dear friend and now colleague of almost 25 years. And at that point, I thought, okay, all right, I would do that. Was it 6 years or something like that? And I didn't know at that point, I had no awareness. I didn't intend to tell this story, so it's all kind of flashing back to me. I had no awareness that the readings had a pattern to them. That as I was doing readings, I had started, because I had no interest in being a medical intuitive, that the readings started to fall into a pattern, that I would do a reading, for example, on someone who had a colon cancer, and the next thing you know, I had 2 to 3 to 4 patients through Norm who had colon cancer. And then there'd be a next cancer, esophageal cancer, and then there would be leukemia, and then there would be a certain type of leukemia. And over the course of the years, these readings would come in groups. And I had no awareness at that point that I was learning patterns. I had no awareness till I sat down to write Creation of Health, that I had logged in all those patterns. And at that point, I did not know about chakras. I mean, how amazing is that? In the 80s, I did not know about chakras, right? But then here was the thing. When I sat down to write the book, my company is failing. We're going into bankruptcy. We have no idea how to pay our employees. We decided I would write the book and we would pre-sell it. That's normal. All publishers pre-sell their books. I sit down and I hear this voice. I hear this voice. As clear as you can hear me, because that's how I can hear that voice. It doesn't come in that strong all the time. But when it does, and it says, not now, it's too soon. I sit back in my desk on the farm in New Hampshire. A sickness comes into my gut because I know I'm about to violate the voice that I never violate. I know for a fact it's too soon. And now I am violating the voice I never violate. And I'm pushing myself to write something and it's not there. The only thing I can tell you is that I am now forcing myself to pretend I'm pregnant, knowing that I'm full well not pregnant. They're expecting me on a delivery table in 9 months. I have to force this. I have to force my body to expand. I have to force my womb to grow, and I'm not pregnant. This is exactly what that experience was like for me. Every night, just imagine breathing so that you're forcing yourself to grow. You have to stop your menstrual cycle. You have to force this because you are not pregnant. That's how painful this was. And that's what's hit me again the summer I started Defy Gravity. I thought, I know all of this. Why am I going blank? And I thought, not this again. Oh my God, not this again. Not this again, anything but this. Don't put me there again. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And as I started to keep going through my notes about why I had observed people healing, and my frustration with, I know people can heal, and why I see people not healing, and my angst with the fraudulence that I see in the holistic world, which I will get into. I thought one of the journeys of people that I have seen who heal, hell, is that they go through the dark night of the soul. A dark night. They go through a dark night. The thing about the dark night is that it's become common parlance within our society. People say, well, I'm in a dark night. I'm in a dark night. And they use it in a way that says, you have a bad day, you have a bad experience, you break up with someone, you have a depression, and you use this profound mystical journey, which it is, and you reduce it to describe a depression, a bad day in earth school, a situation you simply can't endure for a period of time, not fully understanding that the dark night is a journey in which you are called into something to transform you. Well, I realized I needed to refresh my whole understanding of the dark night in order to really write about it fully for Defy Gravity. And so I took the book, John of the Cross, and I started to read it again, and boom, I got my download. All of a sudden, that thing that happens to me happened. The lights went on. The illumination hit. When I didn't expect it. Where I didn't expect it. With the dark night. I thought I was just going to write a couple of pages on everybody goes through a dark night. But I never, ever expected that the grail I was looking for was right there. And as I studied the dark night of the soul through the lens of healing, through the lens of the 7 mansions of Teresa, the 7 chakras, the 7 sacraments, the 7 levels of the tree of life, the 7 mystical notes of the scale of the soul, the 7 everything that we are. John of the Cross said, the dark night is divided into 2 journeys, not 1. The first is the active. And as I read that and really read it, I realized, oh my God, that is exactly the way we've set up our contemporary therapeutic healing model. It matches, it completely matches the attitude, the structure, the challenge of the first level of how we set up our healing. And he calls it the night of the senses, where the first level of the dark night is how you break down your senses. Why is this happening to me? Oh, why me? The narcissistic stage of healing. And we'll go into that in great detail. But the next stage is the passive night. And that's when you really get into your hell. And then comes the next stage, which I then put in, which is getting into your divinity, your actual divinity, which is understanding your graces. But in order to really understand your graces, you have to juxtapose them to your power to create hell. And now you know what the center of your soul is. You have to stand in your power to create heaven against your power to create, consciously to create hell. Not how hell's been created around you, but how you create hell for everybody else. And now you know how powerful you are. That in fact, you have to take a look at the truth that your greatest suffering comes from wanting to make others suffer. and not being able to exact that choice. It's not that people have hurt you. It's that you plan to hurt them and they don't care. Or you can't exact that. You can't execute it. The privilege you think you have to make others suffer. I've been hurt, therefore I get to hurt. And it's not until you recognize, oh my God, I am full of self-pity and I feel I have a right to be. I am full of anger and I feel I have a right to be. And you just don't get that. You just don't get that. My pain is greater than anyone else's and I have a right to this pain. And I am not giving it up. And your pain entitles you to what? To be angry. And you are not respecting my anger. You have to talk to me in a certain way because I am angry. So that's what you get out of your anger. The privilege of your pain is what? The capacity to make other people do what? And that's where we're going in this workshop. So that you finally see that there is a point, the points of creation are either your capacity to choose to create each moment with your grace or to choose to deliver your pain. And that is how you co-create your reality. And that the true person who is capable of healing and receiving healing handles grace. And that is what's true. That is what I have learned. And does not look at someone and say, you don't deserve love, so I am going to blast you. You don't deserve my approval. I'd rather see you suffer for it. I'd rather see you beg for it. I love the power play between us. And it's not until you own that that you realize, no wonder I don't heal. No wonder my life doesn't get better. No wonder. It's got nothing to do with your childhood. The only one in your body is you, and the only time it is now. There's no childhood in your body. It's just the present time. You can keep your childhood there, but it's not there. Not from a mystical point of view. You can keep going back there, but you're visiting the dead. So where we're going is this place called Defy Gravity. And what a mystic does is defy gravity. Mystics become weightless. A mystical experience is when weight is taken out of your experience of life. Is when your five senses, the night of senses, are turned off and your soul sees the same thing your ego is seeing. But you see it through the eyes of your soul. And suddenly what you're perceiving is transformed. So I'm going to pause here and say, does this make sense to you? Yeah? Okay. Now I know it's Saturday afternoon and I bet a lot of you are tired, or a lot of you tired. Yeah, I know. Too bad. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. When we finally go on coffee break, you're going to pour coffee down you like you've never poured before. And you're going to do that as a favor because one of the I want you all jacked up on caffeine. Because, do you know how hard it is to teach people who are like this? Now, I know it's not me, but all of you have traveled. And so for a few seconds, I'm going to interact with you and ask you what drew you to this workshop. Anything specific? How many of you are actively healing something? Okay, so you're actively healing. Is it a physical illness? What are you? So how many of you are actively healing a physical illness? Okay. How many of you would say, what do you mean? You don't know if you're actively healing a physical illness? What does that mean? Nobody's ever answered it that way. You perceive that it's physical. Okay, then. Be an interesting, I wouldn't want to be your doctor, but anyway. Okay. Okay. So, and I'm going to go into a larger atmosphere now. How many of you have dynamics in the greater arena of your life that we could say you are healing, or are in conflict, or are in need of healing? Okay. How many of you are in the process of making changes that you do not want to make but are necessary? Okay. How many of you know you need to, but you don't want to face it? That's good. Got you. Coming or going. So how many of you have a life that you wouldn't change at all, perfect, and you are in denial? Okay. So here is what I'm going to ask you to do for a few minutes, and that's what makes this workshop very powerful, is that you make it very personal. And that's that how I'm going to do this workshop is this way. I need to give it a context, and that context is to bring you into, very intimately, the here and now of what is going on within you and around you, within our global atmosphere and within your personal atmosphere, and how they are one and the same thing. Because so much of the error in our perception is that transformation and the changes in the world are happening out there. And that somehow the out there-ness is controllable, and two, that you can control your relationship to the changes and transformation happening by doing ecological things that are convenient to you. That if you are recycling, the major changes that are hitting the fan will not come to call. This is yet another naivete, a superstition that is your version in the old days of how people used to wear garlic and crucifixes. If I eat a vegetarian diet, if I recycle, then the crap that's going to hit the fan, and it is, the banking system that's going to come down, the wars that are going to accelerate will not come to my door. The pandemics that are likely to strike will not come to my door because I'm recycling. These are the types of superstitions New Agers have developed that seem to believe the changes are going to happen to those people, but not to us because we're organic. And they're only going to happen to non-organics, but not to us. Oh ho. We are so foolish to think such egos. This is New Age narcissism at its worst. At its worst. It's New Age republicanism. And that's the worst thing I can say about it. Because there's nothing as bad as an American Republican. Okay, that's the last remark I make about that, but that is what I have to say, and I have to say it. I won't name the state I think they're from. I'll leave that alone. Okay. But having said that, what I do need to bring to you is that you have to take a look at something in you that needs a profound confrontation. And as I go up the scale of each note in you, of each mansion, of each chakra, of each shadow, passion, and every grace, you need to apply it to something in you that needs confrontation and purging, and the application of grace to see exactly how powerful you are when it comes to healing yourself. That healing is not something. It is not something that comes from without and is not like the New Age has taught, the result of finding a thought form. There must be a thought form in this morass of disaster that is the reason why my life has fallen apart. That's nonsense. It is total, absolute nonsense. It is not the result of a thought form. And it never will be. Ever. That is just another piece of nonsense. If it were so easily, there's got to be a thought form in there somewhere. There must be a lesson in there. There's got to be somewhere like that. We would be a much healthier people. And we're not. And we're not. And that's all nonsense. It's because we like to do everything in our head and nothing else. Oh my, if we have to take our body along, not anything but that. What, move our body? Include our body in our healing? You've got to be kidding. We just like to do it from here up. We're in the energy computer age. You mean we just can't do it from here up? You've got to be kidding. We have to drag our carcasses into our healing process? You've got to be kidding. Okay. So what I need you to do is pause for a moment and go into yourselves and actually choose what it is you need. You say you need healing. You say you pick one area that you are going to continually work on throughout this workshop, so that when I say I want you to apply this to some area of your life, some area of yourself, I don't want it vague. And here's another reason why people don't heal. They kid themselves that they're healing. They play games with themselves. And one of the ways people play games is the way they language what they're trying to heal. What are you trying to heal? Fear. What does that mean? Fear of what? Fear. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's like chasing air. It's like chasing air. What are you talking about, fear? Fear of what? Do you have every fear? Do you have a fear of fire? No? Okay. Is it a fear of, my fear of my aunt? I had a very frightening aunt. No? Okay then. Well then, what are you talking about? Because the fears in you are not the fears in me. So what are you talking about? If you don't name that fear in a whole sentence, you can't call the demon out. So what are you talking about? Fear of what? Now, if you don't articulate it and write it down so that you look at it, you name it, you articulate it, you call it out, the laws of cause and effect, mechanical, all the laws that your whole psyche has set in motion that are regulated by that are not going to say, ooh, she's talking to us. Because up until now, you've played games with that. You've just played, you're not serious about it. When you write something down, you name it, you articulate it, it comes out of your fifth chakra, it comes out of your fifth mansion, it comes out. You are saying, now, I'm going to take you on. Bring it on. You and me. We're going into the ring. So you name this thing, you call it out, and you say, now, you and me. But you're calling out every single thing that's attached to that. Every person you control because of it. Every social energy that's attached to it. Every excuse you give yourself for not doing anything that's attached to it. This is why you won't name it. Because you know that the roots of everything you name go very, very deep. So when you pick something, you're actually picking a whole orbit of your universe. It's not until you do this that you realize how powerful every single thing is. So now you say, oh, I don't have anything to heal. Not really, I was teasing. No, 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 no. No. And you have to write it down. You can't say, I'll just keep it in my head. I watch every one of you, like a hawk. I know who's writing things down, who's taking notes. You think I do. I watch every one of you. I know who's napping, who's nipping. There isn't one of you I miss. I mean, after hours, different thing. But when you're in here and I'm in here with you, that's my task, is to watch, is to see, is to watch who's in the alpha group, who's perfume, who's cologne, who's toilet water, who's serious. And to that I would say, not everybody can move at the speed of light. Not everybody. But this is the fascination with healing. Teresa of Avila would say, you can't, if someone can't move at that speed, this is someone who says, that's it, I'm going, I want the gravity. When Isaac Newton named the law of gravity, he said there's weight that you can't see. There's seriousness. What was gravity? Can you imagine what he did when he saw gravity? He had a mystical experience. The veil between the worlds opened up. He saw 1,000,000 apples before that one fell in front of him, and the veil between the worlds opened. And he perceived what the eyes cannot see. His soul saw the mechanical nature of the universe. His soul, because your eyes can't see that. He had a mystical experience. And he saw through the air that the air was regulated by law. That this space had law. And the law was gravity. And in that law, he said, there's weight. I'll call this gravis. That's Latin for gravity. Gravity means serious. Gravis means to give weight to air. Now think of this as your soul. That thought has weight. But not every thought has weight. A mystical experience is when the thoughts you have that have weight are removed from you. And you become weightless. Another way to say that is not just W-E-I-G-H-T, but W-A-I-T-L-E-S-S. Which is why you look at the great mystics and you hear stories that they levitate. They are without weight. Well, of course they levitate. Then you go, that's logical. That's right. And isn't that what they all say? If you fully understood, you would get it and you would not be awestruck. They say to you, I am awestruck, you don't get it. And they say constantly, this is in you, why don't you get it? Buddha, stop looking at me, I'm a finger pointing to the moon, get the journey. Stop it. Of course you can walk on water. I have no weight in me. I have no weight. I am not carrying history. I am not carrying sin. I am not carrying unfinished business. I have, in Buddha, no illusions, enlightenment. I have only light. I'm not carrying these things that draw your soul out, that you attach to, that you say, this has to be true. It has to be, because I want it to be true. Just because you want it to be true will never make it true. But you anchor yourself in that, and it causes you suffering. And as a result, you make everyone else suffer because you insist that something that is not true is true. You hurt me deliberately. It's true you did. It's true, it's true, it's true, and I will stand in that truth for the rest of my life. And I will make you suffer for it. I will. And thus you do. And it becomes a story. And you visit that suffering every single day. And you make everybody suffer. You make everybody suffer. And therein lies the story of your illusion. until you finally get, there's no truth to that. What have I been doing? There's no truth. And we're going to get to the first shadow passion, which is why you do that. You get stuck in that first shadow passion, and you will fight to the death. That's how strong that first shadow passion is. Pride. Hubris. You've got to be right. By God, you've got to be right. Wretched that, eh? And now you think someone else causes your hell? Oh, no. Not on your life. You're the source of it. The worst thing to do is find out you're the source of your own suffering. So, I'm going to give you pause, and I really need you to take a few minutes, and if you want to talk with, if you want to just chat with somebody, or whatever, and think, but actually you should be well aware of your own, and just write something down that you want as your map for this workshop. Something you think, I've got to put an end to this. But at the end of the workshop, you have seen it differently and it's healed. You've got to walk this, use it. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. Just write down, I am healing X. I need to heal this. I am healing, put it in the present tense.
Can I just beneath the mic?
Okay, sorry. Do you
speak.
mind if this goes on the mic?
I was just saying how I can write down how I need to heal X, but X is just another word, just like any other word or term that I've been told, so it doesn't really mean anything to me. What means things to me are the things that you were saying before, like the associations and the pain associated. So how can I just write down?
All of that is contained within that. You wouldn't, that's an anchor for all of that. And let me say that part of what complicates healing is that a person sees or perceives all of this as riding on this one illness. So let's say that you have chronic pain in the lower back. But you say, see, that's not really it, Carolyn. What it really is my whole relationship to finances and betrayal. Because you don't understand, Carolyn. I've been betrayed all these times, because this is where chronic pain in the lower back usually comes from. And you don't get that, Carolyn, and I see my pattern, Carolyn. You just don't get that. I see now why I've been betrayed, and see, this is what I really want to work with, is all this emotional angst about betrayal like that. And I'm shut up. Put chronic pain in the lower back, because everything that it represents rides in that language. And I want you to just deal with it, because every time you put down chronic pain, all that comes up. It all comes up. That's your container. And it all comes up. It's just that you don't want to language chronic pain. What you just said to me is, but I don't want to say that. I don't want to name that illness. Don't make me do that. And I'm going to say, oh yes, you will. Because the first thing you're going to do is deal with the fear of languaging the illness. It's kind of like one of the reasons why people don't heal. You know, one of the most difficult things to articulate, and it just boggles my mind, but it is. And thank you for this, and it opens a door. One of the most challenging things to articulate is this phrase, the fear of the truth. And is to communicate where people actually get how frightened they are of truth. Not just of a truth, but truth as a force. That in fact, the experience of God and the mystical experience is the experience of the revelation of truth. That what mystics, no matter what form a mystical journey takes, whether a person is a political mystic, a Benjamin Franklin, a Thomas Jefferson, a Voltaire, or whether a person is a scientist, mystic, an Einstein, or a person is a cosmic mystic, like Teresa of Avila. Anyone who is called to the journey of truth, to see what others cannot see through divine revelation, shares something in common, which is first they go through facing truth about themselves. Now in healing, that journey, the first level of that journey is always the truth of experience, the truth of the things that physically happen to you. Very few people go further than that. They never go further than that. That's as far as they go, and they think that's actually going to heal them. They go as far as that and they can't get over it. They go to the second chakra. That's as high as you go. The chakra of vengeance. This is it. And the way they talk is, and as a result of discovering this, by God, here are my boundaries. Nobody's going there again. And they think that's actually going to heal them. Rage, anger, boundaries, but they can identify first chakra, who did it. And they think that's going to heal them by God. And they can't stop telling you who did what. That will never heal. That's just the first. The second level of, and there's just, it's just a, but that's not truth. That's fact. Fact is not truth. It's a fact, but it's not a truth. The next level is personal truth, which is how it affected you, how it formed you, and what you are doing with that experience as a result of it. So now we're at a different level. It's a fact that this happened to you. And now we're into personal subjective truth. As a result of this, I give myself permission to do this. That's subjective truth. And then there's cosmic truth. That which is true for everybody. The law of gravity, a cosmic truth. That Isaac Newton sees. Has nothing to do with whether or not he suffered a bad childhood or a good one. It simply is. And as a result of seeing a cosmic truth, everybody moves forward. Now that's power. In a cosmic truth, only your soul can perceive it, and you take everyone with you to a much better place. To a much better place. This is the journey. But only a calling, only when you're called by name by God, do you get to see cosmic truth. Because it's such a burden. And when they say, know thyself and you will know the universe, know thyself first, and thus will you be called to know the universe. That is what that means. Know thyself first, and thus shall you be called to know the universe. Otherwise, you can't carry the weight of such a truth. It will shatter you. It will shatter you, because what you will do with such a fragile ego If you have an ego that is still a punishing one, that still wants to break other people because of your own pain, where you still want to get even with people, where you're still motivated by a need to be seen because of what's happened to you, or for whatever reason, because you never had enough attention as a child, or who knows what kind of mishigash is in your head, you will take an experience and you will absolutely need everyone else to validate it. But the thing about a mystical experience is nobody can go there but you. Teresa would say, when her nuns would say to her, "Where'd you go?" When she would levitate or she'd have a seizure, but they knew it was a mystical seizure. And she would come back and they would say, "Where were you?" And she would say, my brain wanted to go and my eyes wanted to go and my ears wanted to go, but they cannot make the experience, they cannot make the journey to God. They cannot go there. In other words, my 5 senses can't comprehend where I've just gone, so don't ask me, there is no language. Language can't go that high, which is why mystics start using metaphor and poetry, and they start saying things, well, it was like. There is no language. But it's also a realm where what you see becomes cosmic, where you begin to perceive the consequences of the actions of human beings. Not for the here and now, but 7 generations from now, 10 generations, you realize, oh my God, what we're doing is so bitter. It's so painful. Oh my God, the consequences of we aren't going to change on time. Oh my God. Oh my God. We're not going to, and when a mystic writes, the pain of this truth is so horrible. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about, God, getting this close to you is not a cakewalk. It's horrendous. It's because seeing so much and never having it validated, because it won't be. Because think of yourselves now, of how many people who might see more than you would come up to you and say, don't you get it? Think of something you don't want to get because you're not ready to change. You're just not ready to. You don't want to. You don't want to change yet. So put yourself in a position of closing your eyes to a truth greater than you want to yet respond to. I don't want to see that much yet. Thank you, no. But what if suddenly God said, well, I don't really care. I'm going to grab you by the short hairs and fling you into a mystical experience where truth is no longer something that floats through here and you read about, but suddenly it becomes animated. It grabs you, it absorbs you, and drops you back into your body. And you realize, I can't run away from this now. To put it in a different proportion, let's say it's something where one day you walk in and all of a sudden you realize, I hate my job, and you win it. It comes out of your mouth. It comes out of your mouth. You no longer tell yourself, I can handle this. One day it hits your heart. It hits your heart, and you walk out and you take a breath and you think, I'm just going to go home. I'm just going to go home. I just need to get out of here. Except that day, you know it. That day, from that point on, you are consciously, knowingly, fully, totally lying to yourself. The difference, you got it. It was animated. It went from a mere, it went to a full force 7-chakra cellular soul experience. And at this point, if you go in there, you are now consciously lying to yourself and you know it. And when you walk out in there, you think you have just betrayed yourself. Why don't you go get a shot of arsenic? That's all you're worth. Because you know now what you're doing. That's the power of truth, and that's why we run away from it. Because we know one drop, one tip, and our whole world changes. That's how, which is why the teaching, know the truth, and it sets you free. Know the truth, and it sets you free. And that's why we cozy up to it 1 micro inch at a time. Did it say anything to me but not the truth? Say anything to me but not the truth. Okay, do you all have your little, okay? Have any of you made the mistake of writing it in vague terms? So that if I checked on you, what? And that would be you I'm talking to?
I'm trying to actually put it all into...
All, what, just one tiny
Yeah.
thing. One tiny
Just-
thing, that's all I ask.
I'm not quite sure which one is the most...
One,
they
pick
all
one,
seem-
just one, just one. They all go along for the ride, I promise you.
Yeah. It's grief.
It's a
loss,
subject.
Loss of a partner, and then when I look again, it's problems around relationships, always had, so I don't
Yes,
know.
well, so what's your problem, exactly? He doesn't care about you, he's gone on. Is that a yes? That's a yes. No, that's a no?
I don't know.
Huh? Yes, no, up, down? Has he gone on, or has he passed on? I don't know what to say.
He's passed away.
He's passed away. Okay, he's passed away. Okay. So it's release. Okay.
I'm accepting things with grace that they're happening for a reason. I'm just finding it really hard.
Okay. Been there, huh?
I'm sorry.
No one apologizes for that. Stop it. How I would language that, is, first of all, you knew, was it recent?
3 months.
Okay, well, take it easy here. You need to grieve. Right? You need to grieve, so don't rush the grieving. You need to grieve. That's essential. Okay, so you need to grieve. And that's exactly what you're going to do this, is I need to grieve in a healthy way. Okay, there is such a thing. I need to grieve in a healthy way. It doesn't have to do you in. I need to do this right. Okay, I need to do this right. I need to go through this grieving right. I need to release him, and I need to release myself, and I need to grieve correctly. There is a way to grieve correctly. Okay? And that's what this is. I need to grieve correctly.
Thank you.
All right? Okay, everyone else, I'm looking at the clock, and I cannot start the overview in 5 minutes. I can't do it. So I need to just open to questions. I just need to open this to a question forum or something, because I can't do this overview in 5 minutes. I don't want to break it up and start it. So are there any questions? Yes. Wait a minute, we have a runner.
Yeah, I've got 3 things. Is that acceptable? I mean,
I'll let you know.
is it going to dilute it if I got... But I just can't take one out. I'm thinking I want all 3 of those.
Well, usually 3 things are symbolic of 1 chopped up.
Okay. I can kind of see a thread. I've got my own idea about what might be uniting those, or what might
You see, and so what it says is I like to control the cause and effect. So what I need you to do is, what do they have in common? Give me one thing they have in common.
I think the thing they've got in common is tension or stress.
Tensional?
So can't sleep is one of them. No, tension.
Tension.
Stress. I think
Tension.
they all seem to have that.
Okay, they have tension in
'Cause one's
common. And the
eyes are
tension comes from?
Anxiety.
And the anxiety is due to? Don't say stress. Don't go there. What is happening?
Stress.
No. What's happening in your physical world that's generating? I want the roots of the tree, stay out of the leaves.
Okay. I can't tell you.
Okay, that helps. So, you go down to the roots of the tree and articulate for yourself the actual dynamic that's causing the stress and this, because what you've just said to me is, I am helpless within a dynamic.
Yeah.
So what you've just said is, I'm helpless, and I can no longer be helpless. And that is why you are not making a decision and taking your place as a powerful person. You are, and what you cannot deal with anymore is that you are not taking action in a dynamic where you need to take action.
Okay. I can't see any external reason for why the anxiety's there. I can't see anything that's happening in the world or in my environment that causes it, why I can't sleep or why I get the things I get. I come up with loads of things and I think, oh yeah, it's that. And I feel excited. I think, great, I can deal with that. And it's not, it just seems to be free floating. It seems to be just free floating. I can't see any reason for it.
Well, maybe.
And I feel helpless, like you say. So,
It's a helplessness. You know, I'll tell you as a prelude to where we're going, and that's that I have to talk about the overview. And part of the overview, part of the new world that we're in, and we're in a new world, is that we are sensing things that don't belong to us. Okay, we are sensing things that absolutely don't belong to us. And part of the reasons we are becoming ill and can't heal is that we are receptive to what I call psychic free radicals. Shadow energies that don't belong to us directly. They are impersonal negativity. And because we may acknowledge it, but what we don't do is actually respect that it's there. We talk about these psychic fields, but not to the extent that we respect it enough that it becomes part of holistic diagnostics. Okay? Just like the mystical experience is not yet something that somebody would say, the crisis you're having is a mystical one. It is not fully, quote, psychological. And the last thing you should do to a mystical crisis is drug it. The pain in a mystical crisis should never be tampered with Prozac or whatever the equivalent would be in British medication. Should never, ever, ever drug a mystical awakening. Ever. But for people within our collective who have said things like, for what reason have I been born? What's my life purpose? These are mystical questions. These are questions. Here's an ordinary question. What's for dinner and what time is the break? And I'll be there in a minute. But all of you, it goes without saying that all of you, at some point in your life, maybe recently, maybe years ago, have said, I wonder for what is my greater purpose? And if you think that those questions are answered by a letter in the post or something, just a thought form, you are mistaken. Mystical questions are prayers. They are prayers. They are not questions. And prayers are answered through the redirection of your life. And the redirection of your life is a redirection of your life experiences and what you are learning from within. And that always causes you to go through a period of great transition and anxiety. Okay, and if you don't recognize that as what it is, you will feel that the loss of control that's happening around you is something to panic about, instead of recognizing what was that prayer I said? Why did I do that? I will never say that prayer again. Instead of recognizing you're going into a cocoon, you are now in a cocoon, the classic mystical cocoon, waiting for new wings as a butterfly. You are in the chrysalis. But unable to recognize that, you will panic. And you will say, the pain of this, I feel lost and I feel blind. And I am lost, when in fact you are never as well cared for as when you're in the chrysalis. When you cannot see, you are never more protected. You simply don't understand the mystical nature of your physical experience, because you're looking through rationalized instead of the eyes of the soul. And this kind of anxiety, you may well be picking up that which is not yours. But what if you are unable to think, this isn't my anxiety?
It's not that. I believe it is mine.
I've
heard about, about psychic vampires and psychic energy that could not. But this.
Well, then I have to go back to
this.
This
is being generated by myself.
Okay, then I have to go back to my original hit, which is there are choices, or a choice you need to make regarding a relationship or relationships that need to be shut down. You are obviously in an environment that is vampiric or not healthy for you. You need to make choices that something is coming in that is fundamentally not healthy for you. And you need to look at that. Somebody, something, some pattern of yours, you are exposing yourself to something that is fundamentally toxic.
Could it be something from the past that's not there now, but that I'm sort of generating?
Yeah, but you still go back there, somehow or other.
I can probably get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is that time. Go have some coffee, load up, buzz up, and I'll see you in a half hour. Are you buzzed? There's no coffee? What are you talking about? Well, if you came from where I came from, believe me, there'd be coffee.
There will be coffee tomorrow morning.
Right, alrighty then. Okay. One of the, I think, significant and very important parts, aspects would be a better word, of appreciating being alive now is understanding all that's happening in this very historic moment. In every way, it is a privilege to be alive now. It is also perhaps the most tumultuous time human beings have ever and will ever experience since the time human beings have been on the earth. And to that extent, what is expected of every person who claims to have signed on for a conscious journey needs to be heightened. You, I believe, all of us, need to rethink and take more seriously what it means to be on the conscious path, and to recognize that the choices you make have an impact not only on your own healing, but on the transition and the healing of the whole. Now, you may, up until now, have thought about that, but only in theory and on paper, and not taken it seriously. And that's the whole thing about the New Age. Nobody takes the truths that you claim to have studied seriously. And you certainly, most New Agers, do not live by those truths as seriously as you would live by them if you actually believed them. If they were actually animated in you in the same way a mystical experience animates a truth. And the only way that I can put that differently is in the difference between thinking about becoming a parent and becoming a parent. And theoretic love of a child versus biological, I gave birth to this child. It is my child. Which gives a person, a mother, a parent, the stamina to stay up 18 days in a row to make sure this child lives. Or to make sure this child, you work 5 jobs to make sure this child has the best education. You do things that are what we are going to call beyond reason, that defy gravity. When someone says, how could you have endured? There's not a question of how you endured. You turned to a force in yourself that you would never have tapped into for anybody else or for anything else. And if someone had spoken to you about what you could have done or doing something that you had thought impossible prior to that, having that child, the selfish, narcissistic part of you that existed before the child would have thought, I'd never do that. But once you give birth to that human being, and you realize this itsy-bitsy human being who lives in the land of giants, I am the giant this itsy-bitsy human being depends on. And I will go the distance for this little itsy-bitsy human being because I'm the only giant this itsy-bitsy human being has. I am its giant in this land of Gulliver. And that is the type of irrational love that prior to becoming irrational, which a parent is, are you not? Are you not? You are totally irrational. Deal with you, okay? But you didn't realize how irrational you could be, did you? Or the heights of irrationality that you could reach until the experience of irrational love hit you. Irrational love. My niece, when she became a mom, which makes me a great aunt, which would be a grandmother if she were my daughter, which she could be. But we won't go there. But now she has a son. So I have a great nephew. Isn't that right? A great nephew. How time flies, eh? So I have a great nephew named Harrison. And another one on the way in December. And so she said to me, she said, Auntie, I never knew I could love anything as much. You see, that's what I'm talking about. Irrational love. You know, as much as she loves her husband, it's not like this. Irrational. So now what I'm talking to you about is an experience of the irrational love of God. The irrational, mystical experience that actually makes you cosmically irrational. This is a time, the type of mystical teachings that you've loaded yourself up with are not real to you. They're not real until they're animated in the same way loving a child is on paper until it's animated. And at that point, you become irrational about that love. And no one can tune it or turn it down. And if someone says, so what's it like? So describe it to me. I'm not a mom. Describe it to me. Tell me exactly what it's like to love a child. I need to know. Tell me. Tell me exactly what it's like. I want you to communicate exactly what that's like. And you would say? And you actually think words from your mind could communicate the vastness of your experience from your soul and your heart that is so visceral into my mind. And now you know the difference between a cosmic experience of a truth and just what's in your mind. So what I'm saying to you now is that the truth, the cosmic truth, that one thought, one mystical animation of a truth can change the universe, can influence the direction of humanity at this time. Coming from you, to say it differently, one mustard seed can move a mountain. Is an absolute mystical truth, and if you really knew that, you would deal with mustard seeds constantly. But you've read it, and it means nothing. It means nothing because it's not animated. You could read it 1,000,000 times, and you think, and that's the difference between having a mystical grasp of truth and it just being paperwork. Paperwork. Only we are living at a time where what is going to be required of us is this profound shift within us of mystical awakening. People, I am convinced, are bordering. They're pushing against the wall of their ego to their soul. And they're living between the two. And the frustration is we've gone as far as we can go dealing with our ego. Dealing with our ego. And the next stage is moving into, is truly being called. So I just want to talk about the changes in the world around us to see how you relate to this texture. And to see, so that you notice this world around you. And when you perceive these changes, which you will see, you recognize that they are signatures of the new territory that we're in. And that as you see people around you shattering from this or moving forward from this, you realize this is that new orbit that we are living in.